Well, welcome, everybody, to Fearlessly Feral Living. It's been a while, and I want to apologize, but I don't want to. I want to apologize because it's been a while, but I don't want to because I've been pretty busy with my latest interim ministry assignment. But I've been thinking about you, and I wrote something this morning. It's probably not going to be as long as my normal podcast, but I think you'll enjoy it. I'm calling it three, count them, three states of consciousness. So, if that piques your interest, I hope it does. First, I'm going to do the introduction to Fearlessly Feral Living. Welcome to Fearlessly Feral Living, broadcasting to you from the Woogie Ranch out here in the back 40 of northwestern Nevada, where I'm a half an hour away from the nearest gas station and the nearest grocery store. And we've got a storm due in, so it's windy out, but it's very warm today. I think we're going to just get rain out of this storm. The higher elevations are going to get snow. This podcast is devoted to using new thought principles to ensure successful creative living. Fearlessly Feral is a focus ministry of Centers for Spiritual Living and is devoted to the vision of a world in which everyone lives fearlessly feral. In other words, wild and free. We blend spirituality and psychology to work from the inside out to promote successful, wild, and free living. And our mission is to provide a strong and unshakable inner foundation that works for long-term successful living. Our purpose is activating inner self-awareness to live unlimited lives. And we do this by talking about spiritual principles in practical ways so they are applicable to everyday living. So here we go. Before I get to the three states of consciousness, I want to mention something else. If you've ever listened to me, and I've got a new book coming out soon about spiritual principles and practices, you know that I value self-awareness and all the ways we get to that as my top two spiritual practices, along with connection with source or spirit or God or whatever you want to call it. And I was talking to some ministers the other day who didn't think that personal self-awareness was a spiritual practice. And I've been thinking about that quite a bit, and I disagree. I do think personal self-awareness is one of the most valuable spiritual practices we can do. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that. It has nothing to do with my topic today. It just popped into my head, so I said it. And I've got some wiggle room and some time to play with because what I wrote this morning is not that long. It's not as long as my normal podcasts are. So here we go. I recently got a new iPad and a new iWatch and a new phone. Verizon was having a special. I really had fun. It was a birthday present to me. No charge for these things. No charge, guys. I don't know if they're still having that sale, but if you've got Verizon, you might want to check it out. Anyway, I got the new iPad. I got everything downloaded successfully on it, and I got all my books downloaded into my Kindle app on my new iPad. And when I went to open it up to look at my daily readers, I noticed that everything was kind of out of order. You know, I've got it sorted so that it's in the order of most recently read. Well, my daily readers were all over the map. I couldn't find them. So I did a search for them, and up popped some I forgot I had, and a total of 8 of them. And I was in heaven this morning because I had time this morning to read all 8 entries for today's date in all 8 of those books. Oh my God, it felt so good. Oh, I was just in heaven with that. I know, I'm easily amused. Give me some books to read and some quiet time to appreciate them, and I'm in heaven. Anyway, I got that gift today. That was my amazing thing today. By the way, how are you doing on your gratitude practice this month? You know, it's gratitude practice. 10 things every single day. Can't repeat a thing. Written. Do not think them. Write them down. It makes a difference. And a bonus practice. Every morning when you wake up in the morning, set your intention. to experience amazing things today. Absolutely amazing things. It's not too late to start. It's November 21st, 2024. You can start now and go to till December 21st, and then have yourself the best Christmas ever. So anyway, every day I always create time to do my two favorite spiritual practices, self-awareness and connection. But I don't always have time to read every day. And the fact that I got that time to read today was just, like I said, just absolutely beautiful. So I read all 8 meditation books, and then I read an extra one that I had gotten and hadn't really had a chance to dive into yet. It's by Paul Ferrini. You might have heard of him. He's got a whole bunch of stuff out there and a pretty cool website too. In his book, The 12 Steps of Forgiveness, get this, guys. This is the quote that got me going. Properly speaking, there are only 3 states of consciousness available to us. One is love, which is eternal and unconditional. One is fear, which is temporary and conditional. And the last is forgiveness, which is a bridge from the illusion of fear to the reality of love. And I sat there and I went, oh, whoa, that is huge. For years, since I started on this path, since I started teaching this thing called Science of Mind, I have always taught there's only 2 states of consciousness, fear and love. And of course, the conversation from there proceeds to, okay, so if I'm in fear, how do I get to love? And I've never been able to properly and adequately describe it because it's an internal thing for me. You know, it's a combination of faith and knowingness and allowing my feelings and acknowledgement and non-judgment and inner awareness. It's all that stuff wrapped up into one. And I do whatever is necessary to move myself from fear into love whenever I get into a fearful place. And remember, Fearlessly Feral isn't about living in an absence of fear, because I don't know that that's possible. It's about living successfully in spite of the fear. But this concept of forgiveness being a bridge from fear to love, that was a new one for me. And I looked at that and I went, oh, whoa. Now, it's no accident that I was talking with my class, my students, about forgiveness just a few weeks ago in a delightful class that I'm almost done teaching called 5 Gifts for an Abundant Life. And I've always had a lot to say about forgiveness because I know I've learned from personal experience that forgiveness is the most difficult spiritual practice we can do, but it's also the most rewarding. So, yeah, I've got a lot to say about forgiveness. And I'll bet you didn't know that just about every book on prosperity and abundance there is, and I counted them one day, I think I've got like 27 books on abundance and prosperity. Every single book has a piece on forgiveness. In other words, you can't get to abundance and prosperity. You can't experience abundance and prosperity in your life unless you forgive. And remember that forgiveness is never, ever, ever about them. It's always about yourself. And remember the law of attraction. In terms of forgiveness, the law of attraction says that we can't forgive others until we first forgive ourselves. So there's a lot to say about forgiveness here. And in our class, the 5 Gifts for an Abundant Life, we were in the chapter on forgiveness. We were in the week on forgiveness. We were talking about forgiveness. And all of my students, without exception, said, you know, this has been a great class. It's been a great book. It's been a great workbook, but there's no process to get to forgiveness in here. We need a process. And immediately I abandoned the curriculum and said, we're going to create our own. So we created our own process for forgiveness. And I want to commend and give much thanks to and appreciation for the students who were in the class that night. Julia Mattis, Cindy Mesa, Jamie Russell, and Sharon Anion. They all participated in the creation of this process. I didn't do this by myself. I had help. By the way, I don't know why it works out this way. I never exclude men from my classes and workshops. They are always invited. If you're male in any way, shape, or form, you are welcome here. Please join us. You are always welcome. But most of the time, it's women that sign up for my stuff. I don't know why. I miss you guys, though. I miss the men. Really? I miss you. So if you're male, come join me the next time I do a class, please. You'll make me feel better. Okay, so here's the forgiveness practice. And this is more of a self-forgiveness practice because remember, and Farini agrees with me, we can't forgive others until we forgive ourselves. So I'm going to number these. And if you're the person that likes to read stuff, I have a version of this podcast in writing on my Fearlessly Feral website. It's already up there. I just posted it before I sat down to record this. So here's the first step to forgiveness. You want to create a safe container by going into meditation. You want to create this safe container and meditate on it because forgiveness is more of a heart space thing than an intellectual thing. You want to forgive from your heart, not from that intellect, from that beautiful brain you've got up in your head. I mean, the intellect's nice, it's good for some things, but it's not good for stuff like this. Create that container. Get yourself into a meditative spot. Make it safe for you in whatever way you have to do that. Whether it's, close all your curtains and lock your doors and put your phone on silent, or go out in nature and sit with your back to a tree. I don't care how you do it. Just create a safe place for you, a container to do this work in. And so you're meditating and you're sitting there and you're in the silence and you're in the quiet and you feel safe and you feel comfortable. And then I want you to identify what wants to be forgiven. And all it takes is to ask, what wants to be forgiven within me? And then you wait for the answer. And the answer will come. And when it comes, I want you to breathe. I want you to honor what comes up. I want you to not dismiss it, but honor it, allow it, feel it, cry if you have to. Accept it without judgment. I'm sure you've heard me say before, if you've listened to my podcast, no shame, no blame. Take those words out of your vocabulary. Once you've identified what wants to be forgiven, you ask, what am I feeling? You do a personal self-awareness process. What am I feeling right now? If you can get to it, what do I believe behind this feeling? What are my beliefs behind this feeling? More meditation might be necessary for this. You may even need to stop your meditation here because you might get stuck at identifying your beliefs. This is where a good practitioner comes in, guys. They are specifically trained to help you identify those beliefs that are limiting you. So if you get stuck here, thank yourself for getting this far in the process. Write down what you've learned. Call a practitioner, make an appointment, and sit down and talk with them and get to those limiting beliefs. And then you can do the rest of the process. Now, here's the rest of the process. Talk about it with a practitioner or a prayer partner or a mentor or a coach or a trusted friend. Talk about what you've discovered here. Talk about what you've come up with that wants to be forgiven. Talk about your limiting beliefs. Talk about all of it. When you don't do that, you will identify what wants to be changed in your own thinking. Now remember, no judgment, no blame, no shame. Just because you've identified something that needs to be changed in your thinking doesn't mean that what was before is bad. It served you very well for a while, not serving you anymore. Just identify what wants to be changed in your thinking and resolve to change it. Set that intention. Use that practitioner to identify that and help you create a treatment to change that thinking, to replace the old belief and the old way of thinking with something new. And then this is the fun part. Identify how you will feel when that comes true. When the new thought has replaced the old and the new belief has replaced the old, and you're living life and you're showing up in life differently. How are you going to feel when that happens? How are you going to feel when you have forgiven yourself for whatever it is that's come up? That's the kicker. That's the fun stuff. And again, you can ask for help from a practitioner if necessary. By the way, I'm a practitioner, just a reminder. Resolve to continue to change your feelings about it. Not your thoughts. A thought is not a feeling, and a feeling is not a thought. The thoughts are up here. Feelings are down in the heart space. Resolve to change those feelings. You've had a habit. You may have had this habit for a lifetime. You're going to have to put some conscious effort into it to change those feelings. Keep doing your treatments. Courageously release your resistance. Courageously surrender. And repeat, set that intention every single day to feel the way that you've identified you want to feel the way you're going to feel when your thinking is changed. Do it every single day as often as is necessary. It won't take very long, I promise you. Pretty soon you'll be thinking in that new way without even consciously being aware of it. You will have replaced the habit. So that's the forgiveness process, guys. And again, I have it all written down in a blog on my Fearlessly Feral website. It's also on my KarenLindsley.com website too. So we've got fearlesslyferal.org. We've got KarenLindsley.com, and there's no D in Lindsley. You ain't going to get there if you put a D in there. So you can read that. Oops, I've made a mistake. I forgive myself. There's 2 more steps. You make amends to yourself. Now, here's the deal with amends. It is not about saying, I'm sorry. We can say, I'm sorry till the cows come home. No good unless we set things right. Saying I'm sorry does absolutely no good unless we actually change. We change our behavior, we change our thinking. Resolve to do things differently. Resolve to be differently if needed. And then go forth and have fun. So in a nutshell, I'm going to repeat these, but really, really quick. Meditate and create a safe container. Identify what wants to be forgiven. Honor what comes up. Don't judge it. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? What are my beliefs behind the feeling? Talk about it with a practitioner or a prayer partner or a mentor or a coach or a trusted friend. Resolve to change your thinking and do a treatment for that. And get that practitioner to help you with the treatment. Remember, a treatment is an affirmative prayer. Change your feelings about what it is you've identified. Release your resistance. Just go right into it. It's okay. It's not going to kill you. When you come out the other end, you're going to be better for it. Set the intention to feel every single day what you've identified you are going to feel when you've done this forgiveness piece. You make amends to yourself by setting things right, by changing the thinking and keeping it changed, by changing who you be and how you show up in the world. And then go forth and have fun. So I created a little affirmation for this. Today, I fully and completely forgive myself, thus opening up myself to joy, happiness, and peace. And that's also in the blog, along with a really delightful meme that I created to go with it. And on that meme is a QR code. And if you scan that QR code, it's going to take you to a website where you can purchase a refrigerator magnet of that meme or a print or whatever. There's a lot of stuff on there. And you can use that to remind yourself, today I fully and completely forgive myself, thus opening myself up to joy, happiness, and peace. So I thank you for listening today. Fearlessly Feral Living is a focus ministry of Centers for Spiritual Living, and your support is much appreciated and fully tax deductible. By the way, the end of the year is approaching, and I'd like to put in a special little, I'd like to plant a little seed. If you're doing some year-end giving and you're thinking about who to give to, if you've received any value at all from any of my podcasts in the last year or so, if you've received any value at all from any of my writings in the last year or so, consider giving a donation to Fearlessly Feral. It is tax deductible, and you will get a nice little thank you note from me that you can use to give to your tax person or if it's needed. So, once again, I appreciate you and thank you ahead of time. And so you can support our podcast by going to Buzzsprout. You can support our podcast by going to our PayPal page, and the link is in the show notes of this podcast. And I'll add these links to the blog too. I forgot to do that. And you can check out Fearlessly Feral Living at fearlesslyferal.org. So once again, I thank you so much for listening today. I hope you are having a wonderful day. I know you are having a wonderful day. I know that you completely and fully forgive yourself today, and that you have opened up to joy and happiness and peace. Thank you very much.